Da da
Dun,
da
dun,
da
dun,
da
dun,
da.
dun,
Do
dun,
do
dun,
do
dun,
do do
dun,
do
dun,
do
dun, dun,
do do do
dun,
do
dun.
do. Hi, Greg.
Hi, Nick. How are
Hi,
you?
Greg. Oh, not too bad. Hi, Scott.
Yo.
Oh fuck!
Yo
I'm
ho.
stuck between two Quispamsians this week. This is gonna get awkward.
That's right.
Soon enough, I won't be a Quispam sissy. I will be a Sussextonian.
I just realized I'm the only one here employed. Okay, so welcome back to Beer Analysis 101 with your host Maxwell Starr.
The employed one.
Yeah, the employed one. Beer Analysis 101. We're doing
Nick should buy us more beer.
Right.
Yeah.
We're doing a beer here called Guilty Remnant White Stout with coffee, vanilla, and lactose from
Terrible.
Ontario's favorite hipster brewery, Blood Brothers. This is like one of the
it got
premier...
Bellwood's prices, but not quite the quality, and that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot because I don't even think Bellwood's is that great. So.
I don't know. I've had a couple of beers from Blood Brothers in the past, and they've been pretty good. I'm really minded that Bellwood's not really as good as it used to be.
Most of Blood Brothers stuff, well, at least the stuff I've tried, it's all not bad. And then you look at the price, you're like, oh, that's not a not bad price. That's a excellent high quality vintage price.
Yeah, for example, like how much was this in Ontario, Greg?
I think it was like $4.50 or something.
$4.50 is still cheaper than most craft beers here in New Brunswick nowadays, like because the prices are nuts. This though here was $6.50. So fuck, it better be good. Anyway, let's start off with who joined us first tonight, which is the Fuzz. The Fuzz is in the house. How you doing, Scott?
Is in the house. Well, in this house for 2 more weeks.
2 more weeks.
Yeah. Well, I'm all right. We got a big yard sale coming up. I'll advertise it here, but no one's going to be watching this show, so too bad.
You want to go buy all kinds of Moosehead paraphernalia?
I don't have as much Moosehead as I thought. I went through a bin and I found a lot of Alpine hats. I didn't get a lot of Moosehead
at the Sea Dogs games.
No, just I got a bag of Chelada stuff over there somewhere.
Nice.
Anyway.
Do you still have that giant Alpine bottle?
No. It sprung a leak in between some moves and went out. That was a nice Alpine bottle, though.
I remember.
There's a best paraphernalias.
There's a picture of me somewhere in a Hawaiian t-shirt holding that thing.
That was during my Hawaiian party.
Back your Hawaiian party at your old apartment, which later became my apartment. Okay, so thank you, Scott. Let's move on to Greg. Hi, Greg.
You Quispamsians are like very incestuous. It's like
this is
a
real.
My apartment. That's my apartment.
Not Fred. Not that. This is a weird exotic view of Gregory here between his legs.
Well, I figured we're safe today.
It's like
this week I think we're allowed to have exotic.
This is like Greg's jerk off position on OnlyFans.
No, I'm doing my personal impression of Radar of oh look.
Oh, the Monica Lewinsky pose.
Nick, we're not supposed to talk about that.
Sorry, offended. All right.
Nick, can we please just go back to making Holocaust jokes, like something that's a little bit more tame? Come on. This show is not brought to you by Greg.
The show has been demonetized.
Right. Okay, the show's already been demonetized. So
you didn't even ask me how I'm doing. Jesus, Nick.
I did ask you how you were doing. How you doing, Greg?
I'm doing fine. Thank you, Nick. Have a good night.
All right. Good night. All right. So my turn. So I actually wrote a history for this. This is the first time I've written a history for a beer analysis 101 in like months at this point.
Sorry, buddy.
It's because we've been doing BYOBs and stuff. Because beer selection in New Brunswick has gone to fucking shit in the last couple of years. Thanks to the current administration, but I digress. All right. So Blood Brothers was founded in Toronto, Ontario by brothers Braden and Dustin Jones. Originally from Amherstburg, Ontario, which is near Windsor. They grew up the sons to successful apparel shop owners in their hometown, which naturally they grew up working in that store. After college, they formed a rock and roll band called Songs from a Room in 2007, and then relocated to Toronto. After several years of the venture proved unsustainable, they eked out a living as construction contractors. On a fateful trip they took, however, to Portland, Oregon, would change their lives forever, catching a glimpse of the buzzing West Coast beer culture. On return home, they bought a home brewing kit and bodged together a couple of recipes. Over time of perfecting their brewing process, the home brewing grew in quality and quickly outgrew their home. At the suggestion of Dustin's wife, to find a hobby spot for the excessive amount of beer, they decided to find a location to brew their beer in a spot to legally sell it. As such, Blood Brothers opened for business on October 2nd, 2015, brewing out of a former auto body shop, the same day that Braden's daughter was born. Aw. They needed an identity, however, and thankfully one of their friends was quite into graphics design with their Illuminati-esque designs. I mean, really kind of look at the labeling and shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that graced their brewery and brews today. So another concept was to keep the brewery small and beer fresh as possible, brewing new beers frequently for quick turnover in order to avoid the 3 or 4 or 5 month old IPA problems, the typical provincial LCBO distribution network, which I imagine still happens anyway. So as such, they have a ton of beers that are tweaked and changed over time, including brews like Unify or Die, which is a spice stout made with coffee, cinnamon, and vanilla, which sounds delicious. Shumi IPA, Balam, bourbon barrel-aged imperial stout with coffee and vanilla, which I think somebody brought to one of the piss-ups, didn't they? I feel like
Probably.
I had that. Everything Goes Away, triple IPA, the latest version. That's probably an old thing. Bloodvar. I think you were talking about Bloodvar.
Everything Goes Away is quite a good triple IPA.
Yeah. Bloodvar, which is basically their version of Czechvar or Budvar. White Lies, which is a sour-aged Sauvignon Blanc, sour-aged in Sauvignon Blanc barrels. Their Blood Light, which is a pale ale. They've also got like their Auto Pop series of sours, as well as like 80s themed sours, basically. Like I've got a chin of their cherry cola flavor in the fridge. And there's also Paradise Lost sour, which is their standard sour. This one here, of course, is Guilty Remnant White Stout, which is a 6% ABV, 20%, 60. Tongue twister here. Guilty Remnant is a 6% ABV, 20 IBU white stout infused with locally roasted coffee, vanilla, and cocoa tea. First released in October of 2015, it is named after a clandestine group in the HBO series The Leftovers that dresses all in white, smokes in public, and does not speak, communicating only by passing notes to each other. I kind of actually like reading the description of that show. I kind of actually want to watch that now. Anyway, apparently they released like this has been out since 2015, but they've had variants in the past, like a hazelnut version, salted caramel, and peanut butter version, which were released at a party, I guess, in like 2016 or something. The launch party in 2016. I think this thing disappeared for a while, and then it came back, and I don't really have much history on it because there isn't much to be found online other than some basic information like that. Now, I'm going to turn it over to the people we have with us, starting with Scott, and I'm going to assume that you got no history with it, but you can tell us about how you have no history anyway.
No, I don't have any long. It won't be long now.
It won't be long now until you have a history?
Until I have a history with it. That's what it says on the can. Right. Nope, never heard of the company, never heard of the beer, and and I would not buy this because it's
not a lager.
Yeah, it's not a lager.
Not a lager.
And it smells like coffee. My desk area smells like a Tim Hortons right now. And
all right, are you not a coffee liker, Scott?
Nope.
Wow, there's a lot of coffee haters amongst our groups. I didn't realize this.
Yeah, I'm a tea guy.
Tea.
Okay. So you and Dan would get along just well.
Yeah. Anyway, no history.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes.
All right. Let's turn it over to
fancy photo.
Yep, of course.
Nick, is that the same lens used to take the eclipse photo?
Nope.
It's probably probably a good idea to use different lenses. How's your Eclipse experience, Nick? Was it good?
Oh, it was absolutely breathtaking. Like, I could talk about that more later. Much to everybody else's chagrin, has probably heard.
There's only 3 of us. We need to pad the runtime, Nick. We need to make this show.
No, we don't. Just do our shit.
There's a shit ton of comments, so we'll get to those here in a second. But I mean, there's been a lot of posts about the Eclipse over on Facebook. But I will say it was quite an amazing experience. I would love to talk about it. But for the time being, let's talk about your history with Blood Brothers in general.
Well, I actually have a somewhat interesting history with this beer. So it's actually not that interesting, but I'm saying that. So I had it for the first time in 2017, the before COVID times. And I actually had it for the first time at Monk's Kettle, which used to be a good craft beer bar in Etobicoke. Unfortunately, it shut down last year. But they were always pretty solid. They had good food. They weren't cheap, but they had good food, good beer on tap. And I mean, downtown Toronto, there's quite a few places like that. But in Etobicoke and in Mississauga, you don't have as many options. So that's kind of interesting. Just remembering that, I did try it there the first time. I've had it a few times over the years. I think I actually brought it on BA 101. If I didn't bring it, somebody else did, but I kind of think I did. But obviously, doesn't count if it's not, anal by multiple people, because it's the group anal that really counts. So I don't know. I don't know. That's my history with it. The Blood Brothers, I used to work 10 minutes away from Blood Brothers, so I'd occasionally go there and pick up their stuff. But Blood Brothers, their prices are expensive, but I can live with that. I pay an extra $1 a beer. I can usually live with that. The thing that pisses me off about Blood Brothers is both online and in store, they'll only sell you most of their beers in 4-packs. You can't just go in and buy a single can. And I'm like, for that, fuck you. Because you know what? I want to be able to just, even at $4.50 a can, I'd be willing to try a lot more of your stuff, but not when I have to spend $20 a 4-pack for every single beer you have. Fuck you on that. That's kind of partially why I'm bitter towards them. But to be honest, from an objective point of view, their beer is actually pretty decent. It's probably more expensive than it should be for what it is. But, most of their stuff is generally pretty good. I can't recall having anything particularly bad from them. So.
All right.
They force you to buy more beer than you want. I mean, I get it. I get it if they say, okay, hold on, we have 4-packs and we have singles, because if you want to try one, you get a single and you're like, oh, I like that beer, I'll buy a 4-pack of it. But if they force you to buy a 4-pack and you don't like it, you have 3 beers that you don't want.
Oh, yeah, listen, I'm all for, listen, if people want to buy cases of the shit, give people a good deal if they want to buy 12 or 24 of them or whatever. But let me buy one, even if it's overpriced. Like I say, $4.50, $5 a can, which I know for New Brunswick might still be on the cheap side. But for Ontario, it's expensive. Especially when we're talking, a lot of these beers are like lagers or pilsners or stuff like that. We're not talking about fucking, anything.
It's like, you New Brunswick folks, it might be the expensive there, but like, Jesus Christ, Greg. But in Ontario, we're used to cheaper beer.
Hey, listen, we make up for it because we don't get houses nearly as good, well priced as you. So, right. We pay a little bit more. We pay a little less for beer to balance life out.
Yeah,
you have to buy a lot more beer to make up that difference, though.
Except for all those people moving here from Ontario that are driving property prices up here, right, Scott? Of course, I don't know.
Listen, without going into any details, I mean, Scott seemed that he did well on his house, but you could not get a house anywhere remotely in the GTA. Like, even if you bought a house way out in the fucking boonies where you probably don't even have city water or fucking electricity, unless you pay to have it in yourself, I don't even know if you could get a price for what Scott sold his house for, because Ontario prices are just absolutely nuts. So, yeah. So even if that's what you say is the price are being driven up by Ontario, you guys are still getting very good value.
St. John is still the 5th cheapest place to live in Canada.
So
even though the prices are driven up.
I miss it being cheaper, damn it.
Well,
Edmonton, New Brunswick is the cheapest.
Oh, wow.
Listen, you know what? I mean, prices are out of control everywhere. I mean, everywhere's gone up in value, but I mean, there's a big part of me that thinks about like our good friend Marson, who I don't know if he's watching or not. He probably isn't because I forgot to tell him that we're on. But he moved to South Carolina, even from Michigan. And Michigan's much cheaper than Ontario, but South Carolina is much cheaper than Michigan. And you look at Marson's house and the property he has, and then you know what he paid for it. You get really good value for your money there. On the other hand, the roads aren't so good, so maybe that's where paying less taxes comes in, is, hey, they don't do as much stuff for you.
And you're in a red state.
Hey, if you're a Republican, it works for you.
Okay. All right, so thank you for
Is
that.
Republican a bad word?
Well, I just say trumps everything else. Anyway,
all I said was you're in a red state. That's all I said. I didn't say it was good or bad. I just said you're
all right. All right. So it's time to give my history, and then we'll go to comments. My history on Blood Brothers is I'm pretty sure I've had something from Blood Brothers at one of the piss ups. Somebody must have brought one to either the on the 10th bottle share or the Wayland piss up, and I can't remember which one. Other than that, I know that I had tried Blood Brothers in Trailway had done a collaboration, double IPA with them called Whales All Day, which was pretty tasty, and we did do a BA 101 of that beer. What?
I drank Whale Day.
Yeah, so that means you've had some Blood Brothers, so you do have a history. Apart from that, I had Paradise Lost cherry flavor and the Auto Pop cherry cola, which I have two more cans of in my fridge. And other than that, I guess the Guilty Remnant. This is my history right here. I've been drank a sip out of my new Trailway glass here. That's about as far as I've gotten. All right. Anybody want to read the comments, or is this up to me?
You do it.
All right. So, first comment. The fuzz is fuzzy and home and no pixels. No home and no pixels, he says. He's knocking your camera quality. This is your camera that's on your Surface 7 or something, isn't it?
Nope. This is a different, it's an offshoot camera, 720p.
So just
I'm in my basement.
Gotcha.
Hey, remember when 720p was like, oh my God, this blows my mind how good it is.
And I put on the blur thing from Steam. From StreamYard.
Fancy.
I remember I haven't gotten any AdSense checks from YouTube in a long time since I've been demonetized almost 10 years ago. But I used my last AdSense check to buy a Logitech C920, which is one of the first really good 1080p Logitech webcams. And that was an upgrade way back when, doing these online hangouts in 2015. So
what'd you get demonetized for? Because you have an alcohol channel?
They started goofing around with the search algorithm, so that stuff with contraband stopped showing up as much in search results, and beer took viewership on beer reviews went.
I mean, we're not doing fucking cocaine reviews here. I mean, beer is a legal substance,
and I have my channel marked as not children friendly because obviously I have Greg on it.
Yeah, we can pull our penises out at any point, gentlemen.
That'll still get your channel taken off. But I mean, because of
eclipse of the sun.
Because of that, viewership's gone down, and they also raised the threshold of how much you have to traffic you have to your channel in order to be considered a YouTube partner. So you have to have some, I forget how many hours it is per month in order to be able to remonetize. And so once you hit this threshold again, I'm like, yeah, but all of my videos, nobody really wants to watch them anymore. And because they can't find them in the search results. So fuck you, YouTube. So I've been, and the funny part was, it used to be once your ad revenue reached a threshold, I think they would pay out every time you had $100. And it took me 2 years to earn $100. And I was $93. At $93, I was $7 away from my next check, and that's when it ended. So anyway, I think Google's still holding on to $93 in my ad revenue in an account somewhere until I get monetized again. All right, so Lee Russell says, "It's strange how the cardboard shelter Scott now lives in is so blurry."
Oh.
Jesus. Bubba Sadie's says, "Cheers from Madeira Beach in Florida." Cheers there, Bubba Sadie's. Redbeard says, "Lol." GLB in Amsterdam are consistent. Yeah, GLB is actually surprisingly good and cheap. Like, I really like GLB. I've enjoyed those beers every time I've had, almost every time I've had one. Cheers to Bubba Sadie's. Redbeard says, Lee Russell says he's drinking a Moosehead small batch Hell's Box. Sorry, not sorry. I actually kind of want to pick one of those up to try it.
Go ahead.
Don't do it.
Sorry, Scott.
Don't do it, Nick. Keep reading.
Greg's got the new How You Doing camera angle.
That was the we can't say this, so we'll say it was the Low-Insky camera angle.
The low angle.
The Nick Low-Insky camera angle.
Right. Okay, so Greg says drain pour that Lee. Scott poisoned the whole batch on his way out. He probably did.
Yeah. Don't buy it, Nick. It's not good for you.
Got Redbeard's Bubba Sadie. Yeah, speaking of which, Bubba Sadie's got Redbeard some Cigar City Amber. I forget what that's called. I've had a couple of beers from Cigar City. I know it was like High Lie, and there was another one.
Fuck, I don't even know what I've had from
Cigar City. I've had a couple of Cigar Cities. I've got a couple in the States once. They're tasty though. Red beer. Greg says too late. Greg, too late. Okay. Hate coffee unless it's in beer. Ice cream, coffee, crisp. Yes. So it basically doesn't like drug coffee, but it likes coffee flavoring.
He doesn't. Well, nobody in North Bay likes mushrooms or coffee. They're weird up there.
Mm. Oh, I love coffee. I have a coffee every day. Bubba Sadie says, "What is the fuzz wearing? Looks like he's from the future."
I'm wearing a shirt. I'm wearing a shirt I did an interview with today.
Ooh. How'd the interview go? And what was it for?
Yeah, it was for an IT job remote out of Toronto. Doing help desk support for a clinical research group.
Okay, is that the second interview to the one you had yesterday?
Second interview, yeah.
Nice. Oh, like 2 days in a row. That's pretty good.
So what I'm hearing is Scott's gonna be visiting me shortly.
Yeah. So they will fly me into Toronto every little while if I do get the job, and I don't know. I think I might have talked myself out of the job. I was talking to the director, and at the end of the interview, you
weren't talking about how you could replace.
He was holding his head in his hand. I'm like, oh, I bored him to death.
No way to tell that yet.
No, I know.
Oh, we'll find out.
I'm just being self-conscious. We'll find out eventually. All right. So Bubba City says left field had FU pricing for tiny cans. Oh, they had like the 3 of 55 milliliter cans for. What was that brown ale they had? I think Lee really loved that beer. Left field.
I mean, Grant, I haven't bought Left Field in forever, but I remember now granted, this is when they had their little dick hole in the wall. Like it was literally in a back alley brewery. You walked in, you thought you were going to get murdered. They had really good prices on their cans back in the day. Yeah, they were the small cans, but it was like $2 for like an IPA or something like that. But that's before COVID times again. So I have no clue what their prices even are. I should look it up. But I just remember they used to be a great value. So it kind of sucks they aren't anymore.
I think I only ever tried them when they were at the Albino Rhino Beer Fest. EFIS, that was the one from Left Field, the oatmeal brown.
Yeah, that's one of their. I think that's one of their standards. So, yeah, I mean, I think that would have still been in their cheap days when they were at the Albino Rhino Fest, because I think they moved. It would have been around because they have the base of this whole area that's like 3 breweries are in now. Mm-hmm. It's basically the stockyards area of Toronto. It used to be the area where they all butchered all the animals and stuff like that, but they got rid of it about 20 years ago and turned it into a yuppie area. And now they're there with Shacklands and Reinhardt Brewing, basically in the same building. And I guess maybe their prices have gone up because their rent has probably significantly gone up. So
well, it's just like the crush everywhere. And that's one of the things that's made craft beer hard to enjoy lately is the prices of it. It was just gone sky high. And back to the other thing that's scary is that you look at EFA. When I had EFA Oatmeal Stout, it was at the first Albino Round Beer Fest, which will be 10 years ago in a week.
Wow.
That's how long ago the first Albino Round Beer Fest was. That's insane.
And think, Nick, that was before you had ever met me. Isn't that crazy? Well, we may have talked online.
We might have talked online by that point, but it was like a year before the first time I ever met you in person. And you shared a double tempest, and I had a very positive feelings about you up until I got to know you.
Yeah, well, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to trick you. Listen. Hey, listen, Nick. Look at the bright side, right? Like
you, like Scott. I'm glad you guys both put up with me. So
well, no, but look, Nick. Look at the bright side. At least you're not Agnes. You didn't marry me, so
that's a good point. Thank God for that. All right, so. It's good that I'm not a woman. All right. They still do. Oh, like FU pricing for good beer, but stupid prices. Left field. Go way north in the middle of nowhere, Ontario. There's cheap stuff to be had. Oh, is this Full Beard? They were pretty good.
No, I think he's talking about housing prices, but like again, I was talking about Southern Ontario, like south of the wall. I'm not talking about fucking wildling country up there.
If you go out New Ontario, you can find some cheap beers because they're trying to get people to buy them. Bubba says Maxwell's back shirt makes him look like he's black shirt makes him look like he's floating.
It's funnier if it's a back shirt. I'm like, I don't know what that is.
EA 101 will eventually get replaced with AI.
I mean, yeah.
Not
it'll be funnier than we are too, so
speaking of being funnier than the rest of us, there's BA Bruno saying stop in to say cheers and fuck White Stouts. I knew you'd feel that way.
I kind of agree with you, Paul. Fuck White Stouts.
Alrighty. So Greg says he got the Elon Musk operation last year.
That's you, Nick. You're a floating AI. That's why you got the neuro implant.
Right. Hi, Paul. Cheers, brother Greg. What's next week's beer? We don't know yet. Actually, we didn't even pick one because
I don't know if we have one.
We don't have one.
Molson Canadian.
Ibarra City Madura, it's called. Ooh, that sounds interesting. Cigar City Amber is called Madura. I gotta look up Cigar City's beers because I know there was another one that I had, and I think it was at the year that I did the beer. We did the bottle share on the 10th with Chris at Chris Lizak's place. And when we went to Brewed and Bottled or something like that, there was like a couple of different variants of Cigar City beers, and I was like, Cigar City. I've been wanting. So I remember trying High Life, and I tried one other. I'm trying to remember what the other one was.
I think like I've had two of them, at least two that I've untapped, and I think I have the feeling at least one of them, possibly both of them, were sent to me by Joe back when Joe liked me, or at least
Guyabera, the pale ale.
Yeah, I've had that one. I had the Jai Alai, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, High Life, which is like you ever see that, like it's almost like this scooped kind of tennis thing. I forget the name.
You mean lacrosse?
No, I think the sport's actually called High Life, and they have a ball in a, it's like racquetball with like they got this kind of like handle with a scoop and a ball. You kind of whip the ball at the wall and try to catch it. The other guy has to catch it. So it's like racquetball with a hand scoop. You ever see that? I think we lost Scott. No, fuck it. I'm going to share my screen. Just we're waiting for Scott to come back anyway. And we'll talk about a sport that nobody wants to hear about. But it's this game right here.
I'm going to say legitimately, I've never heard of this sport before.
Well,
like, to me, I've heard of lacrosse.
You drank the beer.
I have drank that beer. I've had it. I can't remember if Joe sent me that one or
that
not.
Guy's jacked.
Yeah, well, he is. He looks like a dark-skinned Chris Lizak.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the whole like post boat orgy look that Chris Lizak's going for.
That's
trying to be fucking cut the fuck. No. Jesus. All right.
That's what giving up beer for 11 months does for you. I mean, good for him. I should do that too, but I don't want to.
Oh. There he is. All right, so Redbeard says Thai Lai is totally a sport. They throw the ball at light speed.
Wow,
like,
that's
feels like you get seriously get hurt by that fucking ball.
Yeah, if it's thrown at light speed, you probably could be.
Yeah, it goes right through you because you'd be dead because it's just sort of laser beam itself through your torso. If we want to be absolutely literal, like the guy who posted that comment. All right, do we want to start going around and giving thoughts before Scott's internet connects out?
Probably should because I'm almost done the beer. So
yeah, me too. All right, Scott.
So it's a very milky stout, refreshing on the tip of the tongue, nice large head, very fragrant in the coffee sense, but you can definitely taste the vanilla and kind of lactose. It's not as thick as a stout as I would think it would be, but you know, it is what it is. Smells like a goddamn Tim Hortons in here. And usually I don't like sticking around Tim Hortons is too much. As a milk stout, for style, I'm going to give it
a white stout.
A white stout? Yeah, I'm going to give it a 7. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Let's give it a 7. I feel like the stout part isn't really there, but the coffee, vanilla, and lactose is. For personal enjoyment, I'm giving it a 4.
Really? Okay. 4.
4?
I'm not really crazy about that.
You can't taste the alcohol in it, though. That's for sure.
No, you cannot.
6%. Well, not really much to taste.
So yeah.
All right. Thank you, Scott.
7 for style, 4 for personal enjoyment. I would not buy it again.
Awesome.
There we go.
All right. Let's go to Greg. Greg. Hi, Greg.
I'm not too far off with Scott, but I'll put into context. White stouts freak me out because I'm getting flavors that maybe should be from a normal stout. Obviously, maybe not obviously, but I'm not getting any kind of, burnt char. I'm not getting any dark chocolate. But I'm not getting any like that general stoutiness, for lack of a better term. But you definitely get the coffee. Like to me, yeah, I get what Scott is saying. It's a Tim Hortons, but it's like I drink my coffee black, nothing in it. But to somebody who likes to have a double, they like to put all this milk, all this cream or sugar or whatever in it. Kind of what this smells like. It's kind of like has that vibe where it's like, okay, it's coffee, but there's a lot of other stuff added to kind of dilute the coffee and make it less bitter. This is a very sweet beer. The coffee's there, and I will say the coffee's done very well because a lot of coffee beers are too bitter. Just like, I'm not a big fan of dark roast. Like I kind of find like a lighter or medium roast is tastier. I find dark roast tend to taste a little too burnt. And I'm not really in the mood to drink ass in the morning. I wait for the afternoon for that. So
for the evening.
Well, that's when you have the real burnt ass.
When you get that real crazy asshole. It sounds like you're getting overexcited there, Greg.
Look at this fucking late.
Tasting ass, yeah.
This fucking lazy dog over here, just fast asleep. So yeah, I mean, I like the coffee in it. What I don't like so much is the overabundance of vanilla and lactose, and that's what I'd love to see tuned down, whatever in this beer.
What?
Turn down
for what?
Yeah, so I mean, to me they really overpower the coffee. Like any kind of coffee you get maybe on the initial sip is just completely dominated by the lactose. Like it's like fucking Scott comes over and me and him are having a beer, we're having a good time, and next thing you know, Dan just comes in body slam Scott, and then next thing I'm forced to then be tied up to a chair while Dan feeds me lactose. That's kind of what I feel about this beer. Is it kind of
This is a very Dan beer, is for sure.
It's a very Dan beer. Like this is like Dan should be like finding a way to get this beer. This would be right up his alley.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a little way too sweet for me is kind of where I'm going with this, but I don't hate it. I don't love it either. As a white stout, I literally just did a search on tap, and I've had one other beer that is a white stout. I think I have had more, but maybe I didn't untap them. It's not something I have very often, but typically my kind of sense of white stouts is they're kind of always like this. They're always like ridiculously sweet. So I'm going to say for style, it's probably up there. It's probably like an 8.5 because as far as I know, I think this is kind of right where the style kind of is, at least an adjunct white stout. I've never had a white stout that's just a white stout, that without adjuncts and shit in it. So that is what it is. And maybe because I don't know, maybe because they can't really make a white stout without adjuncts. I don't really know the process behind it. If only Ashley Sexton was still alive and could tell us these things, but he's too busy being the female head brewer of Cayman Kettle. But one day he'll return to us. Nobody gets that joke. Sad.
I do, Greg. It just wasn't funny.
Oh, well, at least you get it.
At least you get it, and that matters.
Hey, listen. At least you're giving me fair judgment. That's all I want is a fair judgment.
Oh, I'm always judging you, Greg. I'm kidding.
It's weird when I'm having sex with my wife and you send me texts about what I'm doing wrong, but it's like.
Can I send text to you while you make sweet?
It's only sending me a message back saying blaming.
You can send me text too, Scott. I feel you'll be a little bit more encouraging. You've got those manager qualities. So you'll tell me what I'm doing wrong, but you'll tell me, you know what, Greg? Here's how you can improve yourself.
It's called the shit sandwich.
Yeah.
Put good stuff.
I also get this feeling like is sex for you guys so routine now that you guys are just on your phone looking at stuff on Facebook as you're.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't gone to that. It hasn't gone to that point yet. No, I mean, sometimes one of us might be looking at some naughty videos to get us in the mood. But once we're once we're in the fornication mode, then no, we put away our phone and we concentrate for the entire 3 minutes of the act.
Right.
Then I'm all done. I'm trying to have a cigarette. Nick is like, go longer. I'm like, what? I'm done, Nick.
Smoke.
So what do you score this beer for personal preference?
Personal enjoyment. What do you say?
I'm just personal enjoyment. I don't hate this beer. I don't love it. So I'm just gonna go a 7 on it. Like to me, it's a reasonably good beer. Now that I think about it, I'm probably being a little bit. I won't go back on my score. I am being a little bit generous on it. It's not that I would really like to buy, but it's not if it's a beer I have like once every 6 months or once a year. I'm not unhappy I had it. I'm just not really in a rush to get another one. Like next time I have one of these will be probably circa 2025. So. And it'll probably just be I'm at the LCBO. I'm like, what haven't I had for a while?
Yeah. A second. Doing the math here. Just wondering how my numbers meet. Weird. Okay. Yeah.
1 + 1 is 2.
Yeah. Not a lot of number crunching here.
All right. Yeah, I know. We got. I was wondering why my numbers came up with the number we looked. That's good. Scott was going to bring the numbers down more than that. All right. So you said 8.5 and 7. Fair enough. I guess it's my turn to spiel my bullshit about this beer. Pretend like
teach us the ways, Nick.
I do kind of get like almost like that cocoa tea note now that I think about it, I guess. But I mean, for the most part, the weirdest thing was when I first opened this can and poured it out. The first smell I had was: you ever been like at like a club function or a meeting or something like that, and somebody's got a tray of coffee and sandwiches and cookies sitting there, and you kind of get that combined smell of the sulfur and chocolate and coffee wafting through the air. This beer smells like that. This smells like the snack bar at a meeting or at a club meeting or something like that. It's got that weird homemade, somebody just made the perk coffee in the kitchen at the hall kind of smell. And it's all right. I don't mind this. I feel like it's like it kind of does taste like a very light stout. It's kind of got this weird, like overly soft body. Like it's velvety, it's creamy, but it's also very muted. It is quite chocolatey, but and it does have a somewhat heavy body. But again, with all that
heavy body.
Lactose and vanilla, there's like no roasty bite to this whatsoever. I am kind of getting this. I guess it kind of almost comes off as tea in the aftertaste now that I'm talking. But for the most part, like what is in this coffee? Lactose and I guess it comes down to the whole thing. Like I've had a number of good white stouts before. It's not really a style that overly excites me, but I mean it's okay. I've had better. I had even one better recently that a brewery in New Brunswick made that really like kicked at me more. This here is just with all the lactose and the vanilla to this right here, making it a little sweeter and smoother. It's just kind of almost takes it away from this. If you're trying to convince me that this is a light colored beer that's a stout, then it's not really doing it for me in that regard. But it is kind of a smooth, creamy, almost like ice cream like finish to this beer. That said, I'm going to give it a 7.5 for the style anyway. And then a 7 for overall enjoyment. Because I like it. Not necessarily sure I would ever buy this again, but that kind of goes with the territory of having lactose in it. I'm not really the craziest lactose fan, and I'm not really looking forward to tomorrow after drinking this. But it is what it is. I mean, it's all right. I mean, I would drink it again if I was handed it, but I'd prefer it be on a weekend where I wouldn't have to worry about shitting at work the next day. Okay, so
you got to shit on company time.
Gotta shit on company time. Yeah, but that means having to wipe in the work bathroom.
What, they don't have portable bidets there?
They don't have portable bidets at work. No.
Oh,
there's a saying. There is a saying. My boss makes $1, I make a dime, and that's why I shit on company time.
That's right.
Here I sit, brokenhearted, paid a dime, and only farted.
Oh,
because last time I took a chance and paid the dime and shit my pants, or saved the dime and paid. Whatever.
Wow, you guys are like a bunch of old sailors with all these rhymes you got.
Right. Well, it was like because last time I took a chance, saved the dime, and shit my pants. There you go. That's the. Scott probably also remembers the diarrhea song. When you're walking down the hall and there's something on the wall, diarrhea. When you're driving in your Chevy and you feel something heavy, diarrhea. Oh God, this one sounds.
I know that song. I don't even know where the origins of it is, but I do remember it as a kid.
Yeah, I remember me and a buddy of mine and your kids came up with a whole bunch of different verses in that, but I remember it was in a movie in the 80s or something.
I'm gonna do some research here. We need to learn where the diarrhea.
We need to find out where the diarrhea song from.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna do the math on this here. Then I'll get down to the comments because I guess I've been doing everything. I did find out that they're all.
I can do the comments if you're doing the maths.
Sure, go for it.
Where do we leave off here?
It was where Red Beer was talking about highlight is totally a sport.
Oh.
And I think Jimmy C is in the chat saying, "Howdy, cheers, Jimmy C." Just want to get that in there before.
Jimmy C says, "Good Lord," and Redbeard says, "Cheers" at Jimmy C. Okay, what's your math like?
I just wondering what he said. What he say? Good Lord too.
Before Nick does the math, it may have been about Nick watching me have sex. I think he said "Good Lord" too. But before Nick does the math. The diarrhea song probably originated in the 50s or 60s, but it was immortalized in the 1980s Steve Martin movie Parenthood.
That's
So
probably
there you go.
That's probably where it came from.
1989 film. So
I'm getting serious lag on my StreamYard. Just 1 second.
well, now Scott's a dark stout.
All right, so bear with me for a moment. I'm just doing my fancy graphics here.
We're bearing with you, but I'm gonna get a beer while I bear with you.
I have really,
because this beer's done.
And in fact, I've been playing around with it lately for my Eclipse pictures, but I really need to learn Photoshop. Like it's well past time. Oh, fuck off, will you?
Both of you know you cannot learn a word.
Both of you know I cannot read a word. Pick.
I'm gonna have a high quality Canuck Pale Ale because why not?
There we go. Yeah, I want to create one of those classic like collages of my Eclipse picture, like Eclipse phases. But I need to do that in Photoshop, and I'm not really a big Photoshop guy, right? So I gotta learn how to use it. I have it. I've had it for years. It's a skill that I've never leveraged, if you want to put it that way.
Well, you better start leveraging that skill, mister.
Instead, I've just sort of stuck with what I know, which is MS Paint. So our ratings are style,
wow.
Style 7.7, overall 6. So even though Scott brought the scores down, he only brought it down by 1 point on the overall enjoyment, and we still kind of gave this a pass. But yeah, I'd say that's adequate. Just because I like it, but it ain't. It's not great, and I wouldn't say that this is worth paying $6.50 for.
Right.
It's not even the best Blood Brothers beer I've had. That might be that Whale's Old Age Glad I've had. All right.
I support that score. I think it's perfectly reasonable for what this beer is.
I agree.
You see, walked in on all the routine sex stories, being on your phone while you're.
It's funny. I don't remember the exact phrasings, so I'll summarize. But basically, when we were at a wedding for our good friends, like this is back, I think 2012 or something like that, way before the COVID days, we actually had a mutual friend of ours was giving the toast / speech. He was also the best man. This fella also happens to be a Catholic priest. Ooh. And something I don't remember the exact joke, so I won't try to say it. But basically, yeah, that was kind of the punchline was something. It was something about basically enjoy your time now because in the next 5 years you'll be making love to your wife while she's texting at her work or something like that. And everyone was like, "Oh!" I was like, "Did a priest just say that? Oh my god! Oh!"
What kind of priest is that?
Wow.
He's actually, you know what? He's somebody who, in a personal level, is actually a very fun guy and actually a very filthy guy. But and obviously for certain reasons, as an outward appearance, he has to be on his best behavior. It was actually our good a place we like to go to, Timothy's Pub. Oh, yeah. It's a Etobicoke. It's the place that Carrie had that horrifically dirty chicken sandwich. But I happen to like it, and we were meeting there with some friends, and he was supposed to meet us, but I guess to be honest, I don't know how he made this mistake because there's a bar, but at the time there was 2 rub and tugs on each side of it. It's a bit of an iffy neighborhood. So now there's one rub and tug that's still there, and there's a marijuana shop on the other side. But it used to be 2 rub and tugs, and he's like, "Well, I walked into the wrong entrance, and all of a sudden there's all these girls in lingerie offering to give me a massage." And he's like, "We can never speak of this. The Catholic priesthood must not know this happened."
He's a Catholic priest.
And we're like, "Oh yeah, he's a Catholic priest." Like we went to like his I don't know what you call it, but basically his priest Mass. Ceremony. No, like it's like his full ceremony, like to do it. It was like a long ceremony. It was almost like a wedding. There was like a reception and stuff afterwards and stuff. It was confirmation
or whatever you call it. I don't know.
whatever it is, like you don't realize it's actually really difficult to become a priest. Like you got to do a lot. You got to jump through a lot of hoops. It took him like 5 or 6 years to become a priest.
That's a lot of 8-year-old children.
Whoa, no.
Jeez.
This guy does. I guarantee you, this guy.
I love the fact your reaction was Jesus.
I was gonna say, I guarantee you, this guy doesn't molest children, but I actually can't make
No.
guarantees. So, like, what do I know? What
not every a bad few spoiled a bunch, but it's the whole history of the church covering that shit up.
Well, again, you know what? Like you take people who are supposed to be in a position of power and then make them celibate. I have the feeling they're probably a little bit more than the general population. I'm a firm believer. You know what? I'm a firm believer. Priests should be allowed to fuck and priests should be allowed to marry and have kids. I guarantee you, of course, there's going to be those that just are pedophiles and that nothing you can do about that. You just got to throw them in prison. But I almost guarantee you, if you allowed the priests to marry and allowed priests to fuck, you'd probably eliminate a large portion of the problem because then priests would be like, hey.
Hasn't the Catholic Church kind of relaxed the rules on that shit?
I think the only way, as far as I know, I think the only way that it's relaxed is that if somebody is already married and then they enter the priesthood, then they can continue to be married and continue to have sex with their wife. But I don't think you're allowed to marry after you're a priest. And that to me is kind of, you know what? It goes against human nature. Like, you know what? Like, it's the whole idea of a Catholic Church. Hey, masturbation's a sin, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? It's kind of fucking human nature, you know? You either got to let people fuck or you got to let them masturbate. Like, you can't just fucking have that bottled up because then they become axe murderers. That's a fact.
Like, if priests can marry people, why can't they marry each other? Not each other, but like, why can't they marry? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they can marry people, why can't they marry? I think it's kind of dumb. Like, now I'm not Catholic. But I am religious. I'm United, and we have married people. We have gay ministers. We have trans ministers.
And why not?
You know,
why not?
I mean, whatever. As long as they preach the good faith, good word. Why does it matter?
No, it really doesn't. And again, same thing with male priests or women priests or whatever. Like, you know, whatever. Like, if it's my thought is, hey, if somebody wants to be that role, personally, would I want to be a priest? Absolutely not. That sounds like an awful job. But if somebody wants to do it, I don't care what you are. If you want to preach whatever faith you are, again, I'm not religious, but if you want to preach whatever faith you believe in, good for you. Do it. Why not? If you're that, like I said, it is a huge commitment to become a Catholic priest, like a ridiculous commitment. Like, they go through university, they go through all, like, just the knowledge they know is absolutely ridiculous. Whether you like priests or not, it is not easy to become one. So for you to be that dedicated and then say for the rest of your life you're not going to bang anyone, you very clearly believe in your faith, and good on you for that. But you know, again, I don't believe in the whole celibacy thing. And like Scott says, I mean, gay, trans, women, man, doesn't matter. If you believe in your faith that much, go for it.
If you're not married, you're taking your own sex life in your hands.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong, but
right,
anyway, okay, so let's literally wrap it up. Birth control. All right. Okay.
That is how a condom works.
That is how a condom works. So we don't really
to save money. Use cellophane.
We haven't really talked about what beer we wanted to do next week. I don't even know who's around except for Greg.
I think it might be. Well, I think the Lady of the Lees might be available next week, so we'll have to be on our best behavior. But we might just do a BYOB. Is there anything that we can all get that's new?
Well, wait, Scott, are you around next week?
I don't know.
Don't know yet. I was going to say that if you're going to be, it might be around next week. Why don't you pick the BYOB style?
No, I don't know if I'll be around. I don't know if someone coming through the house is going to buy any of the things that I have here. They might buy my internet.
Ooh.
So.
Bubba Sadie's comment. I leave the channel for a minute and I come back to find Greg, Guy from the future, and AI floating head talking about pre-having sex.
That's you know what?
Accurate, yeah.
That's what makes this show so great. Yeah. And yeah, to be honest, Scott does look like a convict from like a
We're a
1970s
combination
sci-fi
beer
movie.
show. We're a combination beer show and shoot the shits too. So we're definitely a shit show.
Scott looks like somebody
I
from
assume
Death
I'm guy
Race
from the
2000.
future.
Yeah, you're like an extra from Death Race 2000 or something.
Okay, David Carradine.
All right.
All right.
Good
So I don't know, Greg. What do you think? Should we do next week? Either that or just do a show and tell.
Well, we could do a show and tell. I would probably say along the lines of, middle of April for most of us, except Alberta, the weather's getting better. Maybe something spring related, maybe something,
Okay.
hey, we come out of winter. Maybe I'm not as keen to drink dark stouts as much as I was 2 months ago.
Okay, why don't we just do that? Like this
A refreshing
beers,
spring beer.
Spring beers or light beers or spring beers or something like that. That work?
I would just say anything that works for spring, like, and leave it pretty open so that nobody has an excuse not to join.
And no more white stouts, according to Mercedes.
No more white stouts. that actually is a pretty good rule. No white stouts. If next week's episode, no whites allowed.
It's that. There you go. That's
a pretty dark episode.
It would be. Fuck. Okay. All right. That's it. We're gonna do next week. Let's tune in next week for BYOB. What Greg said. Spring beers. Spring beers.
Spring into your summer drinking.
Spring hopes eternal. Spring hopes beer.
And
eternal.
put down your phones during sex.
Spring hopes internal, as in your butthole.
Jesus.
Like, no, not hooping anything. Okay, so all right. Okay, all right. So we want to thank everybody who showed up. Mercedes, Jimmy C, PA Brew News, Redbeard, of course. He would get upset if we didn't mention him, and of course,
hi Redbeard.
We don't have Carrie here to flash the penis sign, so we're just gonna have to do this without him and say
Scott's doing the analog penis.
Chris Peters killed those women.
Oh, the pickle.
There we go. We covered our own bases here. All right. Have a good night, folks.
Cheers, motherfuckers.